If you think the danger at abandoned gas stations comes from slashers hiding behind trees, you're dead wrong. The real danger in this day and age is the person smiling at you from behind a computer screen. It was a stormy night in Nebraska. I had been driving for hours until a massive migraine started kicking in, making me feel like I was about to black out. My phone was completely dead, and in the middle of that dark void, a bright, white gas station appeared like an oasis. I pulled in, but there was no attendant in sight. Instead, there was a sign that read, "Charge your phone and connect to free Wi-Fi. We care about your safety." Relieved, I plugged my phone into the charging station and connected to the open Wi-Fi to let my wife know where I was. But that comfort didn't last long. Suddenly, the advertising screens around the station started glitching. They weren't showing ads for coffee or fuel anymore. They were showing photos of me. Photos taken just minutes ago from inside my car while I was driving on the highway. I froze. A cold shiver ran down my spine, like an invisible eye had been tracking me through the pitch blackness. A man emerged from the back room. He was wearing an expensive, tailored suit, not exactly the outfit of a gas station clerk. He held a tablet in his hand, looked at me with cold eyes, and said, "You're driving a bit too fast, Mr. Mark. Aren't you afraid of leaving your wife, Evelyn, and your daughter, Emma, all alone?" My heart stopped. He didn't just know my name. He knew my family's names. I realized then that I hadn't walked into a gas station. I had walked into a data harvesting trap designed to hunt travelers and blackmail them for everything they're worth. The real horror began when he turned the tablet toward me to show me what was happening behind the scenes. It was a live stream. Thousands of people were watching me through hidden cameras, placing bets on my next reaction. The man told me, with a terrifying calmness, that this station was a private studio for sadistic content produced for deep web subscribers who pay top dollar to see real-life terror. The bets were climbing. Would I try to run, or would I break down and beg for my life? Suddenly, hidden speakers began broadcasting audio from inside my own house. I could hear my daughter laughing as she played. They had breached my home security system too. The man tried to convince me that I was the star of their new film, and that the only way out was to sign a digital waiver, handing over all my financial assets. I was trapped. The phone I plugged into their charger was now feeding all my personal and banking data to unknown entities across the globe. I lunged for the door, but it locked automatically. Red lights began to flash outside the glass. The show had officially started. The man began reading the viewers' comments out loud. One person requested that he show me the surprise they had placed in my trunk. I remembered I had left my car unlocked at the pump. The thought of someone, or something, waiting for me inside my car was paralyzing. These people didn't just want to kill me, they wanted to destroy my soul in front of a live audience. In a moment of pure desperation, I grabbed a fire extinguisher and smashed the main server screen. It caused a short circuit and sent the system into chaos. In those few seconds of confusion, I broke through the side window and jumped out, hearing the man screaming into his radio behind me. I ran to my car, not daring to look in the trunk. I floored it, tears of pure terror streaming down my face. I drove like a maniac until I reached the nearest police station. I told them everything, trembling uncontrollably. But when they arrived at the location, they found something completely different. The station was there, but it was just a decaying, abandoned building that hadn't had electricity in years. There were no screens, no lights, and no trace of the man in the suit. But the nightmare didn't end there. When I got home, I found my bank accounts drained to zero. My private photos from the station were being emailed to my coworkers. And even worse, every time I open the camera on my phone, I see that tiny green dot. Someone is always watching. I didn't escape that station. My data escaped, and now I'm just a specimen under constant observation in a permanent live stream I can never turn off. I still get anonymous emails with stats on my daily views, and the number of people waiting for me to return to the station. The bitter truth is, I never truly left. Never ignore your gut feeling when it tells you something is wrong, even if everything looks normal on the surface. Last summer, I was driving from Texas to New Mexico for a business trip. It was well past 2 a.m. The road was nothing but a long, black ribbon swallowed by silence, with only my headlights cutting through the void. My fuel lights started blinking red, forcing me to pull over at the first gas station I found, a sketchy, off-brand station sitting in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by desert sand. There was only one attendant, a very thin man with thick glasses, watching me with a strange intensity from behind the bulletproof glass. While the tank was filling, I went to use the outdoor restroom. I felt like someone was watching me from behind the station's perimeter fence, but I brushed it off, thinking I was just exhausted and imagining things. I got back in my car, paid with my card, and pulled back onto the dark highway. After about 10 minutes of driving, I noticed something strange in my rearview mirror. There was a black SUV following me, but it was driving without any headlights. It maintained a constant distance, matching my speed perfectly. My heart started pounding against my ribs. I decided to test it. I accelerated suddenly, and it sped up too. I merged into the right lane, and it followed right behind me. The real terror began when the SUV suddenly flashed its high beams at me, a quick, frantic burst of light, as if it was trying to warn me about something, before disappearing into the darkness again. I remembered an old urban legend about killers hiding in the back seats of cars at gas stations, and a cold shiver ran down my spine. I didn't dare look back. I was terrified of seeing a face watching me in the dark through the mirror. I decided not to stop. I kept driving like a madman until I saw a patrol car parked on the shoulder near an exit. I slammed on the brakes and swerved toward the officer, screaming and waving my hands. The black SUV didn't stop. It sped past like a bolt of lightning and vanished into the night. The officer approached me, hand on his holster, asking what was going on. With tears in my eyes, I told him someone was chasing me, and that there might be someone hiding inside my car. The officer told me to step out slowly. He searched the back seat and the trunk, but found no one. However, he noticed something that made his face go pale. He found a tiny, magnetic GPS tracker attached to the bottom of my fuel door. I realized then that those isolated stations aren't just for fuel, they are scouting points for gangs who pick their victims based on their car or the fact that they're traveling alone. A week later, the police contacted me with an update. They had caught a member of that crew, and what he confessed made my hair stand on end. I wasn't the only target that night. There was someone else 30 minutes before me. It turned out the driver of the black SUV was the father of a missing young man. He had been staking out that station every night since his son vanished there a month prior. He didn't have the strength to take on the gang alone, but he would chase any car leaving the station, flashing his lights to warn them before they reached the kill zone where the gang set their ambush. The black SUV wasn't hunting me. It was trying to tell me I was driving straight toward my death. Thanks to him, and those lights I thought were a threat, I'm still alive today. But to this day, I can't get into my car at night without checking the undercarriage with a metal detector. Because I know the danger wasn't just behind me, it was underneath me the whole time, waiting for the right moment to spring the trap. There's a certain kind of silence that haunts gas stations in the middle of the night. It's the kind of quiet that makes you feel like the world has ended, and you're the sole survivor behind the safety of the bulletproof glass. I used to work the night shift at a station off a desolate highway in Illinois. A job that taught me that humans are far more terrifying than any ghost. Every Tuesday, at exactly 3:15 a.m., a gray SUV would pull in. It was always covered in a thick layer of dust, making it impossible to see who was inside. The driver would get out, a man in a heavy hoodie that obscured his face, and he never said a word. He would just slide the cash across the counter, point toward pump number 4, and walk back to his vehicle. But one Tuesday, something happened that changed my life forever. As the man got out, I noticed the rear door of the SUV hadn't latched properly. I saw a small, trembling hand reaching out, trying to pull the door open from the inside before the man turned around and slammed it shut with violent force. I thought it was a mistake on his part, a slip-up. I didn't realize it was carefully crafted bait. When the man came inside to pay, he didn't just leave the money. He left an old receipt from an unknown grocery store. After he walked out, I flipped it over. Written on the back in shaky, frantic handwriting were the words, "Don't look at him. He's watching you through the mirror right now. Call the police at 3:20. A wave of ice-cold fear washed over me. I remembered that I had been staring at the man's reflection in the side view mirror of the office the entire time. I slowly raised my eyes, and sure enough, the man was still standing at the pump. He wasn't looking at the fuel tank. He was staring directly at me through the reflection, wearing a wide, inhuman grin, as if he was waiting for my reaction. I didn't call the police immediately. My survival instinct told me not to move. I waited until he sped off like a maniac, and when I finally checked the surveillance footage, I discovered the hideous truth. In the exact moment I was reading that note, there was another person, wearing a black mask, crawling beneath the office window. He was clutching a long knife, just waiting for a single signal. I realized then that the trembling hand and the receipt weren't a plea for help. It was a sadistic play designed to test me. The receipt belonged to the previous attendant who had vanished months ago. The gang was using it to see if I was the type to interfere or if I would stay silent. They wanted to ensure I was a loyal witness to the operations they ran through that isolated station. I quit that night. But the text messages I get every Tuesday, photos of me while I'm asleep, prove that I passed their test. They let me live as a reward for my silence. I live my life now knowing I'm not truly free. I'm just a player in a game I never chose, under the watch of eyes that never sleep.